Welcome, everybody.
Hey, hey. Good boy, Tucker.
Work smarter where you want.
This is learning at its most fun.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Beltran. I am a trainer here at Redtail Technology. And today we're actually covering, by far, my favorite topic, which is a Redtail Essentials on activities. So if anyone's listened in on our trainings before, I am actually the admiral of activities, and that's just because I find them incredibly useful for really answering one very important question in my day, which is, what do I have to get done? So if anyone can relate to that, where they start their morning going, what is today going to prepare me for? What is it that I have to do? That quick answer is always going to be activities. So today we're going to cover how to add activities, because there's multiple ways. And I will give this little preface just to say that there are multiple, but it doesn't mean you have to use all of them. It's always going to be a matter of preference. Besides that, we're also going to show where they pop up, because again, they pop up in several spots. Besides that, we'll try to make it a little easier on yourself by introducing some templates. We'll cover how we can report on it and all of those little details that go throughout it. So let's hop in and actually see what we have with activities. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to switch my screen here, and we're actually going to start on the Today page. Now, this is usually everyone's default page, but if you've made that change to something else, you can always get back to here on the Today page. But right here, actually, right in the middle of the screen, this Things to Do Today is actually going to show you what activities you have. Now, if we look actually over on the right-hand side, and I might have pointed in the wrong direction, but over here we have this add activity. So this is actually one spot you can come to add an activity within the CRM. The other spot that you can add an activity is probably my go-to spot, which is our quick add button. Now, this button will actually stick with you no matter where you're at in the CRM. So even if you're over here looking at opportunities and you just realized, whoops, I forgot to put that, I need to call someone back later on today, you can always come up to that little quick add button at the top, click on activities, and you'll get our actual activities pop up here. Looks like mine just needs to be a quick little refresh. Oh, there it went, right when I clicked that. So again, if you come on up to that quick add, come on down to activities, and then again, here's that pop up. Now, there are actually a couple of other ways I can talk today. Let's repeat that. There are a couple other ways that you can add an activity. One is also from the calendar. Now, I won't go deep diving into calendar because we are going to do a full webinar on just this section itself, but you can add an activity from here, and I would be remiss not to point that out. So if you wanted to do that, you can always just come on over to a spot, come up to the all day, click on it, and again, you'll get that same pop-up. Similarly, anything you add as an activity will also show up within this section. Now, there is also the contact record. So I'm actually going to come over to one of my favorites, which is good old Carol Danvers, and we're going to pull open her contact. And I just did that by going up to it. Kind of looks like a little kid asking to be picked up. That's your recently viewed. If you click on that, it's actually going to show you a contact I've recently been in. So I was actually just listening to my voicemails kind of earlier, and it looked like I missed a call from Carol. So I actually need to add an activity to follow up with her later today. And if anyone can see it, it's almost staring right at us in the face. There is that add activity right in the middle of the page. Now, there is one little perk you get from adding an activity from going to the contact record first. And you'll see that when I click on this add activity, it fills in their contact name. Now, I know that might feel like kind of a letdown. I built that up so high, but if anyone has any juniors, seniors, third, fourth, fifth, sixth down the roads, and you find yourself accidentally always adding it to the wrong person, I'd say go to the contact record first. It fills it in for you so you can take that kind of guesswork out of the equation. Same can happen if you have people who have maybe similar names. This, again, might be a good place. Just pull open their contact record first and then clicking on that create activity or add activity. Or, again, coming to that quick add at the top and clicking activity. Either or will fill in that contact name. Now, again, I did say that I missed something from her earlier, so I want to give her a call back later today. So I'm going to just fill that in. Let's do call Carol back. I'll make it nice and simple for me. And if I want this to be at a specific time, I don't want to check this off. So if I'm supposed to call exactly between the hours of 3 and 4 p.m., this is where I'd switch this time here between the hours of 3 and 4 p.m. Now, if we're not so structured, maybe we just have the goal of calling her back sometime before the end of day today. That's where that all day comes into play. So this all day will not block off your entire calendar day. I did have someone question that one time. It will just, again, give you as a task or a phone call or something like that at the top of your calendar, or again, it'll just be something to sit there to remind you as. But again, maybe I want to call it a specific time, and I will do that here. I want to say again between the hours of 3 and 4. I'm going to leave it for today. Again, I can always click in here and change this if I needed to. But right below that, we get into two sections that are actually unique and customizable for your particular database. There are some defaults. So we've got some default system types, we've got some default system categories, but really what these are is to help us really give description to this actual activity. So type can kind of quickly answer, hey, what is this? Is it an appointment? Is it a phone call? Is it specifically a client review? And I want those to stand out. Is it an internal meeting? Is it more just a task for myself? So again, it's really just quickly flagging this activity to say, what is this? Now, if I just want to call her back, I'm just going to put it as a phone call. Nothing too strict there, nothing too crazy. But again, I also have an option of category. Now, again, you have those defaults, but category really helps you not so much control the calendar, but it also really helps us strictly on reporting. So this is where I can always look back on and go, hey, I want to find everything that I ever labeled as client review notes, everything I labeled as account support, everything I labeled as follow-up meeting or money movement. Again, it's really just what is it that I actually want to find it later down the road, kind of helping our future self. So if I had something in here that had maybe like a follow-up phone call, or in my case, phone call outgoing, I can actually categorize that here. And again, that's just going to help me down the road. Now, the last few boxes on here, the attendees, this is actually your users within the database. This is really just saying, hey, who's responsible for this? If I said I'm calling back later today, this is where I would pick my name. Or if it's a, hey, I want Teddy to call on behalf of me, see what's going on, I can assign this over to Teddy. But I want this to just stick on who I'm logged in as Tucker. But again, you can always click multiple should it apply to multiple people for responsibility. You also have importance and priority down here. One little heads up here, I would say be a little restrictive on when to use high, when to use normal. Don't be one of those offices where it sets everything as high, and then that makes us all anxious going, okay, well, what is actually the highest priority? Again, use this for those situations where it needs to happen by today, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Same can be said for priority. Is this something that needs to be done exactly in that time? Or is it something that, hey, I might not get to it today, so I can always come back to it tomorrow? Nothing's really going to just, again, explode on me there. Now, other than that, though, I'm just going to leave mine as normal. I'm going to leave everything else as is. I'm going to go ahead and create my activity. Now, this, as you can also see, went ahead and updated my past due and next 30. Here's that today. Here's the future activity it looks like I have repeating. If I actually would have clicked this blue create and edit, it's going to bring me to the same page I'm actually going to bring you to right now if I click on the actual subject here. So if I click on it here, this is going to actually bring me to the activity details page. Now, that's really the key word in here, details. So this is where I can add in a location. This is actually what we'll use for our Zoom link. So if we ever have like a Zoom link in here, we'll pop it in here because that's the location in the web. This is also where we can add in maybe after the fact, other attendees. If you're like me, sometimes I just move too quickly and I don't realize that, whoops, I forgot to add someone to this appointment. Let me get them on here. Again, you can always add it after the fact. Same with if, again, you click too little fast and you realize, whoops, I added the wrong person, you can always remove them from the activity. So again, just because you made those decisions from the first page doesn't mean you're stuck with it. We get it. We move too fast sometimes, and we can always make those changes. Now, below that, this is also where we're going to see link contacts. Now, again, I started from her contact record, so it went ahead and filled in as that link contact. But if I needed to add someone else, I definitely could do that from here as well. Coming on down here, we also have that description box and we also have linked notes. Now, I do want to clarify this because I feel like this is a question we get frequently. When should I use the description? When should I use linked notes? Anytime we find ourselves really putting in that whole cover our assets scenario, or if it's the whole, I want to have a written record of everything we talked about during that meeting, that client review, whatever the case might be, immediately think linked notes. Linked notes is actually basically a regular note on the contact record as well. The perk is that it'll attach to this activity as well as the contact records note section itself. So it almost makes this note basically exist in two spots. But again, this is really going to give that historical value because this will date, time, and user stamp that particular note that we're adding in. So description should actually really be used, the description should actually be used for like the agenda. So what are things I need to remember when I actually call her back later? Or if it's, again, a meeting, what are things I need to kind of remind myself to bring up, I should say. So again, it's not too much in terms of the, hey, here's what we talked about, here's what I've recommended. That is really where you're going to use that linked note section instead. Now, just again, working my way down here, we have linked accounts as well. So if you want to, again, reference a specific account that's on file, I can always click add and pick from the accounts that are there. So again, I don't have to type in the notes. We referenced account ending in 2418. I can just link it from it here and I have all of that detail connected. Same can be said if I add a linked document. If I come on down here, maybe there was a paperwork that they signed for us, or maybe there's just some handwritten notes that I want attached into here, whatever the case might be, you can always just click on that add link documents and it'll live again within this activity. Now down here at the bottom, you have a couple more options. Notifying a team. This will actually send a physical email saying, hey, here's this activity that's prevalent. So again, maybe they're not part of the activity, but I want my team to be aware that I did make this phone call. This is where I can go ahead and send that notification. Privacy option is actually something that could be very useful. If we come from a larger office, this is actually where we can control who sees things on my calendar. So if I don't necessarily have her permission to off, but I just really don't want anyone to see this activity, I really just want it for me, I can set that privacy to just me, and everyone else would see it as just private activity. They wouldn't see what that subject's all about, what we're talking about. They would just see that it's a spot on my calendar that I have designated for that callback time. One little warning to always give anyone: if there are multiple attendees over here, avoid the just me, because otherwise you are blocking those other attendees from seeing this activity. So make sure you use the only attendees, again, if there are multiple that need to see this particular one. Maybe we want to designate it to a team. Again, maybe I have a team that I want us to just be aware of. I can again set that privacy, and then again, it becomes private to everyone else who's outside that team. Now at the bottom option here is that recurrence. So if you do have something where maybe I call them every single month, maybe I call them every 3 months, every 6 months, just once a year, whatever that reoccurrence pattern is, this is actually your spot to build that out. So if you do need to do it daily, might be a bit much, but it might be more so for a task that you might have to do. If I weekly check in for a while, I could do that monthly, annually. You also have the option for custom. So if you do look for one and you're like, I don't see it to repeat every 6 months, that's where you're going to want to click on custom and then have it where it's every 6 months. Now, over here, you get this repeat on option. You have monthly on day 20, monthly on the third Thursday. We didn't just randomly pick this third Thursday. I promise there's not someone sitting over here going, that sounds like a good option. This is based off of what we have for this date up here. So we have the 20th. That's why we get that 20th as an option. It just happens to be the third Thursday of the month. So again, that's where these repeat on patterns come from. It's based on the date of the activity. You also have how often you want this to repeat, or AKA when you want this to end. If again, we're doing something like weekly, where we only want it to repeat for the next 2 months weekly, I can have it end within a certain time period. Again, I want it every 2 months, I pick that here. Now I'm just going to switch that back. I'm going to go ahead and actually remove this because I don't need a caller every week. But again, those are your different options you have. Now, there's one very big item I want to actually clarify because again, I get this question frequently. I've been putting 100% here. Why are my activities still staying open? So this right here is actually more of tracking how much you might have completed within it. It's usually more so for like a task, but it's not closing out the activity saying, hey, I'm all done with it. That's actually what the save and complete button is actually doing. So when you're legit finished with this phone call or your meeting in that instance, whatever it is we have on here, that's where you're going to want to click that save and complete. You also can complete it from the today page. So if I made any changes, which I don't believe I did, but if I made any changes, I can just click save activity really quickly. But if I come back to my today page, I find that activity right here. I can also complete from here. If there are multiple events over here, I can actually highlight all of them and bulk complete from this page. Now, we do recommend completing those activities because once an activity is actually completed, it saves as a note on the contact record. So let's say I actually switch this. Maybe I needed to switch it. I'm going to call her back right now kind of thing. I can always say, hey, I made this phone call. Get down here to that time, make that change, save that activity, and now reflects a different time. But if I complete this here, mark it as complete, update and complete activity, it disappears from my to-do list items here. But if I come back to Carol's page over here, that activity is gone. It's now, again, a note on the contact record saying, hey, the activity call Carol back was completed. So we want to complete those activities so that way we legit answer the question of, did I do that particular phone call, that type, that meeting, that task, whatever it is that we were assigned to do. There is one little tip to help make things a little bit easier. If you feel like you're sitting there going, I don't know if I have anything outstanding, there is a past due button on the today page. I do recommend clicking in here at least once a week. More often is always better, but at least once a week, just to make sure we don't have something like April 16th client review with Paul. Now I'm sitting here going, did that actually happen? Honestly, I don't know. My advisor hasn't kept me in the loop. So this is again is where we want to make sure if it's done, we mark it as complete. You do want to mark it as complete as soon as you physically can, because again, like any note, it date, time, and user stamps. So if I date, time, and or complete it here, it date, time, and user stamps with today's date on that note. But my biggest thoughts are just because we fall behind doesn't mean we have to stay behind. So if I do come over here and I realize, yep, we've done this, we did that, we did that, we did that, we did that. I've highlighted a couple of items here. I can again come over to activity options on the right and bulk complete. I'll go ahead and complete those. Now from this page, which again, I got there from that past due, I can also get pretty much that same page from upcoming. I can also click on that activities tab at the top. Now, you could actually choose to have this as your default login page. You can do that under preferences. So I know I have some people out there who like to see the past due and next 12 months all in a list that just makes it easier for them. Again, you can have that set as your preference. But from this page, you can complete in bulk. You can reschedule things in here. You can also do what's a rollover, which takes it from whatever day it existed on previously and brings it on to today's date. You can also see what other people have going on their schedules by clicking on over here. So if I wanted to see what Jack had going on, if there's anything, and I have things in here from January 13th, don't be us, guys. So from here, again, I can complete. I can also reassign. So if I realize, oh, this has been outstanding here, I don't actually know if Paul got his client review, but Jack has been actually really ill and out of the office, I can always reassign that. So you can reassign items over here to a different user. Again, that might be something that's useful if you know someone's going out on a long-term medical, or if someone has recently quit or been terminated. No one wants to talk about that, but we obviously don't want those items just floating out there, making us question if they actually were done or not. We can reassign that and really follow up on that to complete those tasks as appropriate. So again, you can complete, that was in English again, complete, reassign, reschedule, roll over. I don't necessarily always recommend deleting it because, again, we want this history to still exist. I would only delete it if it was legit an error in here. I accidentally added it twice type of thing. That's the only time I'd really recommend that. But again, you can find those activities from up here. You can see anything that's from today right in this section as we saw earlier. And again, everything will always exist within the calendar as well. You can get a day, week, or monthly view. So again, we've gone over how to add an activity, where to find those activities, all of those details within the actual activity. But I am also a big fan of making things just a tad bit easier. And that's where activity templates come into play. So if anyone was kind of sharp eyeing it earlier, if you come back to that quick add and activities, you might have seen this little drop down at the top here that said selected template. And I'm sure someone on the call is sitting there going, how do I do that? So if you don't have templates and you want to add one in there now, you can actually come up to your name in the top right, come on down to manage your account, and almost perfectly halfway down the page, you'll see this manage template section, and activity templates is right at the top. So in here, you can create however many you need, but kind of a couple little reminders on this section. Activity templates can be created by anyone within your database. If you build them out right this minute, it's available for everyone else within your database. So it's one of those times that someone can do all the heavy lifting and everyone can benefit. One time I'll say it's okay. But again, the whole purpose of an activity template is to make things easier on you, make it simpler. So in here, if I wanted to say, hey, I have client reviews, and every time I schedule a client review, I put in the subject this way. I pick the type, I pick the category. It's become kind of monotonous at this point. Create that activity template so it pre-fills as much of this as possible, or as many fields of these as possible. So again, I have it here where it says subject, client review, has the client name, type, client review, category, client review notes, fills in the description as the agenda, so that way it reminds me I need to fill that in. I can select the attendees. So if it is something where every time I hop on as well as someone else, I can always highlight the two of us here. I can also, again, set those importance and priorities. So if I come back, I'm going to just click cancel here. If I come back to that quick add button, click on activities here, again, everything is blank except for a kind of default date and time of right now. But if I change this to client review meeting, this went ahead and filled in my subject, changed my type, changed my category. And again, I can do that for whatever scenario it is that I find I repeat frequently. So just to show you another example, I have a staff meeting, and more internal activity, I should say. Changed again my subject, my type, my category, and attached 17 of us onto this actual meeting. Again, the whole point of this is so now all I do is change the date and time. It takes far less clicks, saves me some time, and honestly, my sanity is now restored. So use these templates for anything and everything you could possibly think of to make it easier on yourself. And again, ultimately save that time, because it's the one thing we never seem to have enough of. Now, besides those templates, what else can we really do with activities? And the next thing I always think of is, well, how do I maybe look back on them? How do I want to just report off them? How can I find really everything besides just that activities page on our today page? And you can actually come to reports on the left. So when we come to reports on the left, there is actually a whole section on activities by itself. Now, the activities by contact is usually the one most people go to. It's usually the one I always click into. And don't get stuck on the word contact too much, because activities do not actually have to link a contact. Again, they might be for more internal reminders for ourselves or internal tasks for us to complete. So if you see right down here, if there's not a link contact, it's still the activities by contact. But again, maybe I'm trying to find everything that happened within a certain time period. So I want to know everything we had from January 1 until maybe just look at April 1st. I don't want to specify a specific servicing advisor or writing advisor, but you can. If I had a specific subject I'm hunting it for, I can type that in here. Same with description. Maybe I want to find everything of just not what's still open, but what we actually got done. I can do open and completed, and it'll give me that bigger history look back on, not just, hey, we got to clean up some of these open items. I can restrict it to just repeating or non-repeating if I want to. I can also use those types and categories. So again, I said it earlier, pick those types, pick those categories, they're customizable fields. But again, the whole purpose of really utilizing these is that if I'm looking for something very specific, if I just pick that type or that category, I'm only getting those type in those categories. And I don't have to go hunting for it, deep diving, going, I swear it's in here. We don't have to do that. We just pick those if we need that. But again, I just wanted to show you, we have all of these different options. You can limit who it's actually for, like the attendees. You can have only activities without linked contacts. So again, more of those internal tasks. Did we do everything? And then you can apply those filters and you'll get everything that meets your particular filters that you have in here. Now, one other little nifty trick I like to show from this page, and it's more so for anyone out there going, she keeps saying activity types and categories. We never touched those before. We should really start using that going forward. If you actually see some things in here and you're looking at it, maybe I just want to click on this one here really fast. There is an activity options. This is unique again to this particular section of the reports. So if I come over here, I can actually change a field from here. So if I again have it defaulting as unassigned or appointment, and I had everything defaulted to general information, and now I want to actually change those, I can do that in bulk. Again, this is something a lot of people don't realize. So you have that ability to do that. Same with if we're looking at those filters and we're trying to clean up everything that's past due and open, you again have those different bulk options from here as well. Now, just like every other report we have, though, you also get the ability to export it. So if anyone out there is needing a Excel version, click that export button. It'll give you that Excel. Same with PDF. It'll give you, as you might have guessed, a PDF version. The search button is not the control or command F of the page. It's not going to search this page. It's going to take anyone who is a link contact and actually bring it to our advanced search page section. So just heads up there. Again, I know I've had some people click that and get a little surprise for you, but again, you always have that option. Now, there are technically a few other activity reports. The activities assigned by you to others, as you might guess from this, is it's going to give you everything that has been assigned by you to other database users. The reverse, you also have everything that's been assigned to you by others. This is actually, both of these reports kind of made a grand appearance last year when everyone was kind of scattered about working from home. They weren't sure really what had been completed. Those were ones that they were like, hey, let me just pick on this one attendee, figure out, hey, what they've done. So those, again, can have those values. Deleted activities. Again, I try to avoid deleting activities because I want that history. But if we are sitting there going, I swear this was something we had in here, where did this go? This might be a good report for you to check in on. So all of these are going to be ones that everyone immediately has available within their database. Anyone can pull them, anyone can use them here. But if it's one you're going to use frequently, feel free to click that little star and it saves it at the top as a favorite report.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.